All right. Hey, everybody. It's Jason Blaha here, just sitting here drinking my morning coffee, looking sexy as hell as usual. Thought I would chat with you people, wake up again this morning like we do most mornings. This will, of course, pick up as we go along. So, for the people who chime in after this is over, not catching it real time, you may want to skip down to where we get to interesting topics. Um, Also, I don't know why the comments don't always appear in the afters. I have all the boxes checked to make the whole conversation show for people who rewatch it. I have everything checked to do it. And for some reason, when I look at the videos, it's never there. I have no idea why. I have no clue. But that being said, while we're waking up and this is warming up and getting people in, I'm going to make a couple of posts on Facebook for social media. All right. Because that's also what we do. Plus, it's morning, so these tend to be slow. I got to get stuff in the feed. All right, we got to get stuff in the feed. It's very important. All right. Got to be careful about memes. There's certain groups that don't like you posting anything sex related as a meme. You got to watch that. But I'll get right back with you people. All right. See if we've had any comments yet. No, it is completely dead in here, which means I need a community tab post. Let's do that. We haven't made a community tab post in a couple of days. Yeah, a little bit slow because new people are coming through and we don't have a conversation going yet. So they're dropping back out. All right. But once the regulars get in here, it gets lively. We have about 10 to 12 people who are semi regulars. We have some people who make almost every one of these. But we get a lot of people who are pretty regulars in these, even if they drop through just to say hello. They're in pretty much every day. So once they get in here, I know when any of them show up because the likes disappear automatically. They all hit like as soon as they get in. And once you guys do that, that will also boost the engagement up. And then we are good to go. Right. What's your go-to everyday carry gun? Glock 19 Gen 4. Brandon Glock 19 Gen 4. I usually carry 147 grain Federal HST plus P. I usually carry 2 to 3 extra bags, but really, I mean, we could debate if we even need those. Like, honestly, I'd be perfectly comfortable doing it. I'd be fine with a 1911 with one extra bag, and I still think that would be more than adequate. Because at the end of the day, Most self-defense situations are over in less than 4 shots. You know, so your real main concern is just going to be, do you have an extra magazine? Because most failure to feeds and malfunctions are magazine related anyways. So having at least one extra mag, always a good idea. You know, and I could make the case that even what I have there is excessive. Carrying another backup piece is probably excessive. Um, well, obviously irons are going to be default. You always have irons. I think red dots absolutely can have their place. I mean, eventually I might even do a 1911 or I'm going away from Glock. I'm a little pissed at this recent fiasco, so I'll probably go back to Smith and Wesson for striker fire. Truth, obviously, I missed carrying when I was in the UK. I've become more adamant about that with age, and I realized while I was living there that I absolutely couldn't live in a place I couldn't carry. It was became a major issue for me. Clock, dude, they did. I hate using that term for everything, but it's almost. I mean, how else are we going to describe it, Brandon? I mean, how else can we describe it at this point? What they just pulled with this whole Series V thing, I just this is a problem. This is why I'm sticking with American manufacturers only. The American companies wouldn't have been cucked like that. It's a European-owned company. I mean, they don't have the same values when it comes to Second Amendment. Um, and I've been a Glock fanboy for 10 years, but I came over from S&W. Like I was a Smith and Wesson guy for a long time. Like I've historically been Colt Smith and Wesson my whole life growing up, and you know, I went over to Glock due to just the sheer quality of it. I saw a bunch of the independent testing, and I was absolutely amazed by what I saw in independent testing in terms of reliability, safety. Like I saw some crazy stuff, some different people who made footage and videos, and it sold me. It absolutely sold me. Problem is, I've sold all my Smith and Wessons. The only Smith and Wesson I have is I have an A&P AR, but I'll probably do some again. Although I may go over to eventually 1911s too. So that'd probably be the only handguns I'll probably ever own again. Will be 1911s and then Smith and Wessons. My very first one was Smith and Wesson revolver 357 mag. It was my first handgun. Um, but yeah, no, I mean the only piece. I mean, I won didn't win, but I went pretty quickly in a little steel challenge on an M&P um, that I did a few years back, and then I sold my M&Ps. I wanted to consolidate a lot of my collection, though. I had too much diversity. I just don't need it. Mm. Yeah. Oh man, this whole conversation's turning into pew pew Gary so far. Pew pew talk. As long as we keep it reasonable. No, I mean the MVPs are a solid line. Also, being games being jacked or shit now. I mean, he's been blasting gear. You mean jacked upper body? He's still not jacked because he doesn't train legs. I think people forget that in those conversations. If only half your body is trained, you're not jacked, guys. Your legs are most of your muscle. But he's been using gear. He's just using more gear. I mean, this has happened in many of our conversations in here. I almost only want to talk about his goofy ass, to be honest. He tried to, but he kept hurting himself. He has injuries, But as everyone has said in all these chats, all the old OGs who come in here are like, dude, what are you talking about? He was on gear a decade ago. What do you guys mean? Started. Come on. Man, this is why as a OG in the lifting game, I shake my head at these kids, man. They're clueless. Injury prone plus diet. Yeah. That diet's not helping. Yeah, Brandon. I mean, I'm going to be back to an M&P guy after the whole fiasco with Glock. And that tells me a lot, man. They have to know they screwed up. They have to know they screwed up because all trying to keep the California sales, all of that to keep, but then how many fans did they lose? So you take someone like me, I've been an adamant Glock guy for the past decade, sold everything I own that's not a Glock, carry only Glocks, Glock fanboy for 10 years. And one business move made me say, I'm done with them. How many others are out there like that? How many other people, how many other Americans just kind of said the same thing? I can't be alone. I don't hang out on Pew forums and boards these days. But, like you brought it up too. You brought it up and said, yeah, they're straight cucked. And I made a post on it last week, man, on Facebook that I'm done with them. Like I'm not gonna. I said I'm never buying another Glock. After that, it made me realize I'm never buying another foreign made firearm ever again. Done. And I don't even like some of the bougie boutique stuff anymore. I'll just stick with big companies that are going to have long-term aftermarket support. I never want to not be able to get parts. Factory mags. So I may stick with stuff like Colt and M&P or Smith & Wesson, calling it M&P. It's pretty much the same at this point, right? How good of a job have they done with that we almost just use M&P interchangeably with Smith & Wesson? But yeah, they did some pretty good marketing, but they did a lot of R&D. Like they did work so hard to compete with Glock, and then Glock just made a big political snafu. So yeah, they're going to lose a lot of people. So like I said, I can't be alone in that, Brandon. Good morning, review. But again, when you have 10-year-long Glock fanboys like me who just say, I'm done with this company over a single business move. That's what happens when European company ownership does not truly understand their American market. So I hope that they make enough California sales to justify the loss of thousands of long-term fans. Because it's not like people need to buy their new stuff. We got at least 2 million Gen 4s in circulation already over here. You're going to discontinue the line, okay? But they already did their Gen 5 change, and they're just going to discontinue everything. All for a rebuild that's not going to have compatible parts, just to appease California. And that's crazy because they have to know the Supreme Court's going to eventually overturn that. A Trump Supreme Court is going to overturn that California law at some point. But yeah, good morning, Rufio. But that is crazy how a single state like California can implement a draconian gun law, and one of the largest manufacturers in the world completely changes their entire production line to accommodate. And just says, we're just going to discontinue models we've been making for 2, 3, 10, 20 years, the whole line, everything. California wrote a law to where certain styles of guns can be converted with modifications to full auto too easily, right? Which is illegal. Right now, keep in mind, Connor, it's a federal felony to do this, not state. If you commit a United States felony, you are effed. We're not talking like a state felony. Federal felonies are a big deal. Like, you threw your life away. So, I mean, let's put it in perspective. You are going to federal prison if you get caught doing this, right? So I'm putting this into layman's terms. They wrote a law that certain styles of semi-autos, if they can be converted too easily with aftermarket parts to fully auto, which again, mind you, is a federal felony to do, that they were not going to be allowed within the state at all. They could not be sold and imported. Well, the first 5 generations of Glocks fell into that category. So essentially, they banned Glock in the state of California. Glock is now, at the end of the year, actually, I think it's this month, discontinuing. They were still selling Gen 4s and Gen 5s. Well, yeah, the criminals. Well, the issue is, Connor, won't matter because we have so many things in circulation. So even if you stopped it right now, so even if you said, "Oh, I'm not going to allow Glocks to come into the United States anymore," you know how many millions of them we have? Do you know they're almost an indestructible gun? They're nearly indestructible. It's why people like them, right? And 50 million companies make parts for them. So, yeah, it's silly. But essentially, it's a ban on this. This whole brand is banned. And, 6 or none. Obviously not. Can't do that. Are you talking about with the Capals? I don't know a lot. Who knows? I have no way to see the lists are now invisible. I can't even see banned lists anymore. They changed everything. We cannot see our own ban list. We can't remove people from our ban list. We can only remove someone from a ban list if we have the URL of their YouTube channel. We have to go manually uncheck it on their channel. That's it. So unless someone literally sends me a link with the URL to someone they want me to unban, I physically can't unban them. We cannot see our ban list anymore. They removed the ability to see it, even for tiered partners. So it's rather tedious to unban somebody now. It takes me, like, if you send me the URL, it still takes me like 60 seconds per person to unban. Yeah. But essentially, Connor, since you were asking what happened with that, it made Glocks illegal in California. So, because it fell into that category. So Glock has responded by saying we are discontinuing all previous lines. And it just came out with Gen 5 a few years ago. And a lot of people were unhappy about it. Now they're discontinuing everything for what they're calling the Series V. It will no longer allow for that easy modification. Yeah. So in response to California, Glock has literally changed its entire market and production line. Keep in mind, Gen 4 was the most popular generation ever. Everything I own is a Gen 4 for context. But they're discontinuing that also and the new Gen 5. But it's all going away. They'll still manufacture them for overseas police and military markets from Australia, but they're not going to produce them in America nor import them. Well, Trump can't. The Supreme Court has to overturn it. The Supreme Court will probably overturn this one. But in the meantime, this company has lost fans. Like, I'm a 10-year supporter of Glock. I will not purchase another Glock ever again. In response, because the company has shown its politics and its willingness to cave to California on insane gun laws. And that's what we were talking about earlier is this is a problem when foreign companies who do not understand American firearm culture become major players in the game. They don't understand the mindset of their customers. Like, I'm done. So I'm going from being a Glock fan. I'm going to go back to Smith & Wesson, which is who I changed from. I was a Smith & Wesson guy for decades. And I switched over to Glock 10 years ago. You know, and I'm just done with that company. Right. Like, I'm surprised they got the FBI contract again. Smith & Wesson competed hard with them for that FBI contract. They have worked really hard to be a competitor to Glock, because Glock has pretty much been the ubiquitous law enforcement gun, right? Yeah, we missed the reloading. Yeah, I haven't reloaded in years, actually. I don't need to. I can't justify the time. I would make more money making Facebook posts and videos. Like, I make more money making Facebook posts than I would save with the same number of hours reloading. You know, because you have to figure at the end of the day, my reloading is only worth $5 to $7 an hour of what production costs reduction from reusing cartridges. I could get all the contents to make a bomb. Doesn't mean the contents are illegal to buy, right? Right. Well, again, that's California saying we don't want firearms that can be too easily. And why do they care? I mean, realistically speaking, someone who can actually shoot is more, any of these smaller weapons, whether it's a handgun or a carbine style rifle, we're more dangerous with semi-auto than we are with full auto. We're way more dangerous. So the whole thing is stupid anyways, right? Spray and pray. No, you need, every round needs to connect. And it's not like a good shooter can't take a Glock and fire. Like, you guys have seen me shoot Glocks, right? Have you anyone not seen video footage of me in the past? How many rounds a second do I accurately put in the center of the target? 3 to 4 shots a second. You figure average, counting reloads, 3 shots per second, I can keep inside, a palm-sized group. Morning, Coach. So, Dad, I'm surprised you were a Glock fan over S&W, since they're not even in the, I got sold on watching the testing, independent testing, when I watched the abuse that people were able to put Glocks through. Plus just the availability of magazines and parts, it sold me. When I watched people doing stuff like throwing locked and cocked Glocks with no safety on them, mind you, out of helicopters, and they didn't fire when they hit the ground, beating them with sledgehammers, shooting them with shotguns, no negligent discharges. They will not discharge, even with a round locked and cocked. No discharge at all. They're impossible to accidentally shoot. You cannot accidentally fire a Glock through an accident. It is physically impossible. Right? The only way a Glock will fire is if you pull the trigger. And this has been repeatedly proven over and over in independent testing. That's kind of a big selling point, dude. You know what I mean? That's a major selling point. And then they all functioned. That was the beauty of it. They still worked after all of this. Good morning, Jason. How are you? I'm doing good. Waking up. Good morning, Dad and the boys. We're discussing the political situation with Glock. And why a bunch of us last week turned away from Glock for life. I'm done. I'm never buying another Glock. I'm not a Glock fan anymore. I'm done with the company. Wonder how far the SIG P320 can get through that. I don't know if it will, maybe. But those torture tests were crazy. Like, I watched one of them, and I went and bought a Glock 19 the next day. When I watched the one torture test, because the 2 Glocks that they took a Gen 3 and a Gen 4 and a 19. They all functioned afterwards. Not only did they had no negligent discharges, they worked flawlessly. Even the ones that they shot, so they took them and shot them with a shotgun, and then flipped them to the other side and shot them with a shotgun again, and then ran over them with a truck. Including the magazines that were in them. They did not discharge around in the chamber, and then they worked flawlessly afterwards. Even with shotgun pellets all in the plastic and everything, they still worked flawlessly. Threw them out of helicopters, beat them with hammers. They will not discharge. That was a selling point. So when Alan was asking, well, how did I get turned on to them away from Smith & Wesson, that's why I carried a Smith & Wesson up till that point. But yeah. The same thing with SIG. Because we saw this happen with Glock, I'm never buying a non-US made weapon again. That includes SIG. I mean, I like SIGs, but how do we know the Germans' politics is any different than Austrians? Are they going to cave as soon as California writes a gun law? and just discontinue their entire line and all their aftermarket support and all the parts interchangeability to appease California? I don't think so. So you can't trust non-American companies to make firearms. Right? You simply can't trust them. I mean, and Glock just showed us this. That's it. Like I said, I will probably, other than maybe stuff like Kimber, I'm probably going to just stick with Colt and Smith and Wesson. I have had great luck with both of these companies my entire life. I've never had problems with either company. They're reliable. They've been around 100 years. They're not going anywhere. And their politics are clear. I'm going to get some coffee, guys. All right, be right back. Coffee. Someone asked me about red dots on handguns. It's been going that way for a long time. I was chatting with a SWAT guy, HPD SWAT guy, at a gym in a 24, about 7 years ago. And he had said the same thing too. He's like, look, everyone's eventually going to go to factory red dots. Or at least installable, and they are almost everything. So again, take Smith & Wesson. Almost every new handgun they have has a modular removable plate. They're all optics ready. You'll look at the whole Kimbers, half their 1911s are optics ready. And it's just about faster target acquisition, right? Because when you think about a defensive gunfight, how fast is it over? All right. You usually have, once it's weapons hot, you have the less than a second, maybe 2 seconds to get your first round in the other guy. Right. So if by the 2 second mark you have not connected multiple times, you're probably going to die. If the other person has a gun and you both have a gun, you have less than 2 seconds to get the first couple rounds in their body. So if it takes you a second and a half to get your draw on point, you may be a dead man already. So that half second faster target acquisition from that red dot, that's why all my home defense guns all run a red dot. Everything in my house for a bump in the night, I have a rifle in here with a red dot co-witness with irons. I have one by my bed inside the same way. Half a second quicker to get that first round in center mass. Half a second faster target acquisition is kind of a big deal in a defensive situation. That's life and death. Because I can tell you right now, my draw time with irons, it takes me a full second to get my first round on paper. About a second. Could we shave that down? Second to a second and a half for me to draw and get around on target. It's a 1 to 1.5 seconds. A red dot can shave that down. Again, just because you can keep both eyes open, you have instant target acquisition with modern red dots from every angle, because you just put the dot through your vision where you want it. I don't have any on pistols. I think Vortex is great, but I like Trijicon if you're willing to spend the money. I've got a bunch of Trigicon night sights and stuff. I run aim points on all my rifles. In my indoor rifles, I run aim point, which they're a military contractor anyways. And I like the 10-year battery life. I like the fact that every 5 years I can swap the batteries and wipe the lenses down. And that's my full maintenance. And I can leave them turned on. The beauty is the fact that you can leave the red dot turned on. So the Trigicon kind of too, but Vortex is a good company too, right? I think Vortex is good. If you want to shave a couple $100 off your red dot. Like if you don't want to spend more than $200, Vortex is a solid choice. But I really like Trigicon as far as night sights go, though. But Psych asked the question if you had good luck with Lucy. So what happened, Limitless? How things going with Lucy? No, Limitless, you don't need a cycle right now, dude. The last thing you need right now is to be running gear. I'll show you what I mean. It's dark enough in here, you can probably see the night sights. Let me grab a Trigicon here. So I don't know if you can see, are they glowing through here? Yeah, they're glowing. So, I mean, even in this room, this is what Trigicons look like. Yeah, you can see all the big glow in here. So, all right. And then they have I like the anti-glare machining so that there's no glare from sunlight on the back of these. So these run in daylight. So this is night and day, right? All right, we're back. So, yeah. But as far as rifles go, Brandon, I prefer, I like aim points. Joel, quick hypothetical. If you, Jason, how complete could someone become aesthetically if they only did weighted muscle ups for the upper body? Probably not, dude. That's really, why wouldn't you do at least dips and pull-ups? Come on. Because you're going to be limited with that two-part movement. It's just not going to be, something is going to be underdeveloped because you're going to be weaker at either the pull portion or the chest, Like minimum, do dips and pull-ups and then something for your delts if you're trying to get really aesthetic. But Brandon, I really also like the aim points though. So let me grab an aim point right away. All right. So Brandon, I really like simple setups like this too. So really all we need is, again, A2 post to run as co-witness with an aim point and then a good sling, right? And you're good to go, right? So even for just basic home defense, this works great. And a setup like this is super simple, super reliable, fast, instant target acquisition in close quarters. Because with running the red dot, you can just shoot with both eyes open. And you can shoot from any position, right? You don't have to be lined up perfect. So you have both eyes open, red dots on your target instantly. I feel like this weapon. But again, I really like, just for things like home defense, I really like the A2 post with aim point co-witness. All right. But no, I definitely agree. I think for any long gun like that in close quarters for your home, a red dot definitely the way to go. And you need a sling, and the reason with the sling, weapon retention. No one's getting that weapon away from you. Once you're locked in, once you were locked into that sling, they're not getting it away from you. They're not wrestling it away. Have you ever had a consultation? No. I've had consultations with people who only wanted to chat with me and bro out before. But he told me it was training stuff and he had training questions. And as soon as he got in, he's like, dude, I'm a big fan. I just wanted to be able to chat with you for an hour. I don't even care about asking training. He never even talked training the whole time. I've had that happen. Yeah. So peppermint, yeah, you see my point then. So then when people bring up pew pew stuff and they act scared or bothered by firearms, you could see why for me with how I live my life that I would be like, I think they're weird. Right. I'm like, why would you leave your house without a gun? I don't even understand. Like, and so when people say the crazy stuff to me, like, oh, you live in a bad area? No, everyone carries a gun. Therefore, it's not a bad area. They just kill the bad people. Like, what do you mean? Like, when everyone is armed, you don't go do bad stuff. Like, this is not a good idea. People behave themselves. Right? People are not going to thug out in the middle of your street. You lost your mind. All right. So if someone only has a pull-up bar, would weighted muscle ups be a good choice for upper body? Joe, why would you only have a pull-up bar? So I don't like these sort of limitations at all. I would find a way to get other stuff. Nobody only has a pull-up bar. How are they doing weighted muscle ups if they only have a pull-up bar? Joel, how can you do weighted muscle ups if you only have a pull-up bar? So you have plates. So you're locked in a jail cell with nothing but a shit bucket and a pull-up bar. So what do you do and hang in the poop bucket to do pull-ups? You see, so I'm not understanding this situation. So you have weight plates. We can do all sorts of exercises with plates. And you got you got some 10s, you got some 45s. Man, bro, you could do all sorts of stuff with those plates. You could do loo raises, rear delt flies, front raises, curls, tricep extensions, pistol squats. No, I hate pistol squats. You could do goblet squats with them. All right. You could do lunges. You got all sorts of stuff you can do with those weight plates. Now, if you only have the poop bucket in your gel cell, okay, I mean, I get it. I don't like these sort of hypotheticals because I'm an outside the box thinker. I don't like being locked in a box. Solutions. We find practical solutions. Yeah, I don't like being locked in hypothetical boxes. I'm going to find solutions. So I took at college. I took some criminal justice classes actually, and one of the things we went to this youth detention center, and I escaped. So we went in. So again, I'm a solutions guy. You see problems, you find outside the box solutions. I looked at that one of the cells because we went to this youth detention center, and I'm like, this room isn't secure. And like, what do you mean? I said, I think I can get out of this cell. And I did. Within 5 minutes, I was outside. So I think they had a redesign. I got out of their cell. I got out. Like, y'all screwed this one up. Well, the problem is right at the entrance to it, it was too narrow. The walls were too close together. And I noticed that there was overhead tile about 10 feet up. So I climbed up between the wedge myself and got up the wall and went through the tile into the ceiling and got into the ceiling space. Which led into the lobby. But I mean, I got in, I noticed it instantly. I'm like, this is a problem. No, through the ceiling. There was that ceiling was because they thought there was no way to get up the walls. It was a 10-foot, so like a 10-foot ceiling, but it had, you know how you have those office type tiles above? So it had crawl spaces. So I got out. So again, you've got to be an outside the box thinker. So you give me a situation where you tell me you only have a pull-up bar, I'm going to find other solutions. But now you're doing weighted muscle ups where you have plates. Now we've got a lot of options. So let's come over to the dips and pull-ups because that's what you mentioned. I mean, you're going to have development gaps with only muscle ups, obviously. because one of them is going to be stronger than the other. You're only getting approximately close to failure on one of those movement patterns. You don't fall through the tiles. You can fall through once you get to the other side, dude. Once you're in the lobby, it doesn't matter if you bust through and fall through the tiles. You just have to get out of the cell. So you can't walk on them. It wasn't a big enough crawl space. But you could crawl through and drop right through into the ceiling of the lobby and just knock those tiles out and come through. But your shoulders, your delts are going to be a limit. So let's say dips and pull-ups. Your delts are probably going to be developmental limit. No, it was, we were in there looking at the facility as a tour of it as students. And I looked at the room and I told them the cell is not secure. And I said, I can get out of this cell. And they locked me in the cell. They thought it would be fun. So the professor talked with them about it. The teacher, like, yeah, let's put him in, see if we can get out. Because they say if you're depressive, you have to clean your room. I don't know why is your room that dirty. My office is a little cluttered, but you've seen the rest of my house. So my place is tidy. As well. Yeah, but yeah, definitely clean your room. Whereas Psych, she asked me a question that she did. You didn't answer. She asked you about Lucy Coach, and did you take my advice? And you didn't answer her, man. That she got bored. She's like, I'm done with him. That's how it works. See if we get some supers this morning like we did yesterday. I got supers in all 3 chats yesterday. They're going to be a little different today with some of these because I've got to do a midday client call. I got to do 2 client calls today. Any opinions on doing grip specific training like Captains of Crush grippers? I don't think Captains of Crush work that well. I own them. I can't say they carried over to my deadlift at all. All they do is blister the holy hell out of your hands. All right. No. Work on barbell holds or pinch grip stuff. And you don't need special. Yes, I have some things you can pinch grip, but honestly, if you really just care about pinch grip, just pinch plates. You get use forearms for muscle ups, maybe. I don't know, Joe. You did enough of them. I mean, pull-ups can build pretty good forearms. But I don't like your hypothetical. I mean, it's just, I don't see why people would do that. There's no need to limit to that. You can find other stuff. Awesome, man. Appreciate the super chat, Connor. It doesn't have a way to like that one. That's weird. Said, let's celebrate their 5th super. Can you see that thing, or is it only for me? Because it says, let's celebrate their 5th super on a live stream. Connor coming in clutch again. There we go. Didn't realize the weighted loophole in it before I asked right. So again, solutions, man. Cool. So yeah, Joel, you have to be solutions oriented. You always look for practical solutions. Creative coaching solutions is the term I use a lot. Thoughts on the 75? I call it 75 pussy. Man, I need David. David and I had a funny chat on that. I need to get him to say something about it. Thoughts on the 75-day hard challenge, blah, 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 blah. I call it 75 pussy or 75 easy. I made a video on why it should be called 75 easy. No, it's training yourself to be a pussy. Do you know why? because you're calling it hard. There's nothing hard about this. So by putting words hard or difficult onto anything fitness or training related, you are programming yourself to be a weak, lazy pussy by using the term hard. It's a horrible self-programming method. Now, had they called it 75 easy, we would be having a different conversation. But I've also called it 75 pussy. Right. To me, this should just this whole thing that they with the way they break it down is just how you should just live your life. But there's no need. See, the second workout thing, this is where it just gets silly. Like, why divide it up? I never do only a 45-minute workout. Are you serious? Just do a 2-hour workout, done. I mean, come on, guys. It's just arbitrary. It's completely arbitrary. But the whole point is my normal life is already more disciplined than 75 hard. So to me, I just look at this and go, why are you calling this hard? Why don't you just live this way? Dude, my workouts are 2+ hours. Yeah. I mean, not the conditioning, but my workouts take a while. Like, look how much total work. So look at my training logs, Peppermint. So, this whole idea of, oh, you've got to go 75 days with only healthy meals. It's like, you don't eat like that every day. What are you people doing? It's a challenge. So what happens at the end of the 75? You go eat a bunch of junk food? I mean, are we serious? 75 days without alcohol, dude. I'm at almost 7 years. I'm coming up on the 7-year mark. Yeah, it should be 365, man. My GBP workouts depends, because sometimes I'm running back over to the stuff to put some stuff over on the computer. The GPP workouts are probably in that range, but a lot of times I run first. So I run and then separate it and then get a shower and then go do the GPP. I do all of that before breakfast. Yeah, the problem is because it's only one muscle, Joel. Yeah, most muscles are not going to be trainable for 45 minutes. They're going to be in junk volume real fast. I stopped for a lot of reasons. I don't want to really discuss my biggest personal reason for stopping drinking. Is that fair? It's too in depth into my personal life. Other than I didn't like my behavior when I drank. So it wasn't for the fitness benefits. It was for behavioral reasons. How do your energy levels compare? I don't have a comparison, Desert. I mean, you're asking me to think way back to energy levels. I wouldn't say energy levels are better. My recovery is better from training. And I can tell you that since I stopped drinking, I haven't banged any heroin addicts without a condom. I haven't had any threesomes with ugly chicks with no protection. I haven't done any of that stuff. Yeah, dude, guys, since I stopped drinking, I have not slept with any heroin addicts without a condom. So, yeah, man. How's that sound? And her fat friend at the same time. I haven't done any of that. So, if a smoking hot girl invited you out for pizza and a couple of beers, would you partake? No. 45 is inherently bad. I'm saying response kind of okay. Yeah. Sleep quality is much better with alcohol. I agree. Sorry, Coach, ignored. I didn't see what you put, man. Desert did a vomit sign. Sorry, 45 minutes easy long enough for a good session. You say only. Well, if you're only training one muscle, and the reason is because you're in jump volume if it's only one muscle, right? Are you really getting quality sets for 45 minutes straight on the same muscle? Or are you completely exhausted the upper threshold motor units? That's the issue. It's just not possible. But what if you trained two muscles? Right. I mean, because realistically, you guys all know who've done a bro split. You can't do 15 quality sets for a muscle in one workout. Not unless you extend it to 3 hours. Why? Think in terms of muscle fiber recruitment and motor units. Why is it not work? Not without drugs. So what's the problem? Can you replicate performance? In other words, let's say you're spending whatever 15 sets on your chest in one workout. Are your sets to failure anywhere near where they would have been fresh on set 14, 15? You're like, well, I'm finishing with flies. No. But are you able to do a 12 rep set of flies with the same weight you could have at the start of the workout when you're 15 sets deep? And they're like, well, no. So therefore, it's a useless set. It literally did nothing. So if you can only do 12 reps with your 20 rep max, that would have been 20 rep max fresh. Like if you can do 20 reps with those dumbbells fresh, but you can only do 12 reps with that same weight at the end, it had zero growth stimulus. If there are no anabolics for the intermediate fibers, if you're not on a cycle, there is zero muscle growth. I don't mean diminished returns. I mean absolutely nothing. You got nothing from those sets. So Joel, I'm going to be honest, I don't like you. And here's why. You keep wanting to promote inefficient, bad training on my channel. I don't like that. I think people like you hurt people's gains. I think you hurt your own gains. I think your entire mindset is counterproductive to gains, to both yourself and to other people. Like you are hurting your own progress with your very mindset. It's self-destructive. This is tough love, coach. This is how I do to my clients, right? Your line of questioning shows a mindset that is geared towards bad programming for yourself. You are hurting your own gains. We need a mindset change completely. But you keep jumping to ineffective hypotheticals. But it's the way that your brain works. You've got a mindset problem. Do you think most people, hey, Brandon, I need qualifiers for this term? Do you think most people could squat 500 pounds natty? Let's come over to some qualifiers. I'm going to assume by most people you didn't include women. Because let's be fair. Do you really think there's natural women out there squatting 500 pounds? Well, since women comprise slightly over 50% of the population, the answer is obviously no. Most people can't because they're women. So let's rephrase the question. Right. And then I'm going to have to ask the next point. What country do they live in? Because if you can get fat enough, like if you have access to enough pizza and ice cream and you're willing to get up to 400 pounds, even the most genetically ungifted guy could squat 500. He could just belly flop his big old fat belly off of his thighs and squat 500 with enough work. So I need to know, no, most people, again, so most men, because they don't live in a country with access to enough calories to just get really fat really fast. Yeah, Joel, you'll notice though I have an extreme disdain for hypotheticals with bad training. A lot of people realize this in the lives. I'm kind of a dick about it. My friend informed that ice plunges used for recovery can be counterproductive for hypertrophy. I said that 10 years ago, Desert. And then it got studied, and the studies confirmed that I was right with my hypothesis. When this whole idea first came out, my immediate reply was, this is going to hurt your gains. Not because I'm a prophet, but because I've passed a biology class. I know basic human biology, and I know the basic mechanisms by which muscle growth occurs. And I knew before any studies were done and said in videos, this ice plunge thing is going to hurt your muscle growth. I said, I don't like you. I was being facetious at that point, Joel. Joel, I was being facetious. All right. Jason never joined a band. Why not? I'll tell my band that you said that. All right. Be like, bros, this guy says I have to build a time machine and unjoin the band. All right. Let's see. So, Desert, now, the history lesson aside from my channel, this has been studied and meta-analysis has said, yes, it interferes with muscle growth. Yep. All right. Coach dealt with that one too. Protein synthesis requires enzymes. Enzymes work so well at ice cold temperatures, right? Yeah. I think people also need to realize that hard ass work, it's a pretty big chunk. You know, you can get a lot of stuff wrong as long as you work really hard on the basics in your training. It gives you a much higher margin for error. If we're going to be pragmatic about it. That's a conclusion I've reached after 25 years of studying the greatest coaches throughout all of history and coaching myself. If you work really hard at the basics, it gives you an enormous margin for error on other stuff you can really screw up. Yeah, thanks, Jason. I haven't given value your content, but the videos I've watched, you seem, yeah, I don't think I've mentioned cold plunges lately, so in your defense. But since you brought it up, so now do you see why I made the status the other day? Do I need more informative content? Is there anything I haven't covered? You know, so if someone started digging through my channel meticulously for cold plunge, you'd be like, dude, he's got like probably an hour of content on this topic already, debunking it. going back years, trying to get four people to work out is the most impossible thing on earth, especially musicians. Oh, I know this music. I know this for a fact. Bro, I mean, you aren't wrong. You're not wrong, man. I can't get the muff divers together ever. It's so hard to get them organized. Yes, I named the band and they all loved my name. Andy and the Muff Divers. It excludes him. I let his wife know. So she kind of didn't like that. I'm like, well, we're excluding him. It's Andy and the Muff Divers. It's like, gee, Coach Blaha, you literally named your band after eating vagina. It's like, yes, I did. Why wouldn't I? Just saying. Then the girls know. They already know. It's like, oh, okay. Right? Yeah. But no music, you're right. I'm assuming you have struggles in this case as a music. I'm assuming Music Saint Light that you are a musician. You got any music content up? No, you don't have any music content uploaded. Yeah. As a professional. Yeah. Fair enough. What sort of music do you do? What sort of music do you play? Music? Just read your channel post. You're retired. Well, not retired. I mean, I just don't feel like making any right now. I mean, they don't get enough views, and I have an enormous library. Like, what's the point? You know, I feel like when I put an informative video up and it gets 250 views, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, I've done this topic. There's 10 hours of this topic already on my channel. Like, there's no topic I'm going to cover that's not been covered, and the old videos get just as much. Like, so the new informatives that I put up every day, they don't even outperform the old videos in the library. Well, I mean, however long they take them, even to voiceover. But then they also clutter the alerts. People only get so many notifications, and then they miss the live streams for the informative when it's rehashing the same content. Like, at this point, normal fans just do a search. Hey, has Blaha talked about this? They type the term into the channel search engine. Oh, he has 17 videos on this topic. So they don't even justify the time, realistically. The live streams literally make way more money, and they actually get subscribers. Like, I pick up subscribers every single day in the live streams. Right? Yeah, I mean, at this point, and since all channels have a search engine and all regular long-term YouTubers know how to use a search engine when they're here, they just go to the channel and type in what they're looking for. So even if you want to see, let's say you watch a music reaction channel, you're like, oh, I want to see have they reacted to Nightwish. You just type Nightwish into their channel search. Oh, they've reacted to 6 Nightwish videos. Done. Yeah. Like I said, I have an extensive library. I've covered everything, man. There's nothing left to cover. Music, you didn't answer what sort of music do you make, man? You know, you didn't answer what sort of music. So we don't know. I've been forgetting to do my other posts, man, while we've been sitting here. I went an hour without hitting any of the button on my posts. I like your linking your repository is one of the greatest compendiums in internet. Thank you, man. I mean, it's pretty big at this point, right? It's pretty big at this point. I've seen world-class musicians through about 40 people trying to make their dream come true. Yeah. Yep. Well, the thing is with bands, so for me, if I get further into my music and really take a guitar super serious, I'm not necessarily expecting to make it like that. All right. Hey, Desert, why did you search YouTube? Desert, okay, you're new to this platform. You are aware channels have a search engine. Okay, so go to my channel and search the channel. You don't need to type my name. You can just go to my channel homepage and search my channel. Every channel on YouTube has a search engine built in to the individual channel. Hey, Peppermint. No, I don't have a plan at all. So you're asking me, do I have a plan? No, I don't have a plan. I'm saying at this point, I don't feel the need to make any right now. It's just not a good use of my time because even those don't get a lot of views on YouTube. My client blogs get better views on YouTube than they do here, but my shorts and reels is really what gets the most Facebook views, right? My shorts. So I meant on Facebook, not YouTube. But the general informative videos at this point, they're just played out. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't have a plan. I wrote the post. So as people are asking why they haven't seen any, I mean, I've got 60 sitting there ready to go. Yeah. Too much troll videos. So Desert, you just search my channel. You can do that on every channel. And then you see only their content. 10 p.m. at night in Australia. But as far as music's point, though, yeah, dude, way too many. Your odds of making it as a band is extremely low. But if I started taking the guitar super serious, I probably have enough history and outreach just being Jason Blaha. It would probably pick up on the internet and make money. So, maybe a day when I chill with some of the fitness content and do more and more guitar later one day. Who knows? We'll see. Right now, I just don't at the moment. I'm trying to grow so much stuff in my business. I don't have time to invest the amount of time I would like into my guitar. And it's not just the time, it's the issue of the research time for extra reading, research techniques, learning. Eventually I will though. Right. And I'll continue to refine it. But no, I mean, I agree. As far as people thinking they're going to make it in a band, no, Matthias has a serious band, but he has a normal 9 to 5. So, I don't have an alarm. I wake up whenever I feel like waking up. 3:30, 5:30, whatever. I wake up when I wake up. I don't set an alarm unless I have a reason to. I'm a morning person. Well, let me be right back. So I'm gonna keep. Yeah, getting a gigging band. Yeah, dude, it's super hard. I have multiple clients who do gigs, and yeah. Yep, it totally is. All right, we're back. What time is it there for Coach? It's 6:15 right now. 6:15 in the morning. Yeah. Thoughts on Dick Cheney's legacy? Man, no one even thinks about him. Like I feel like almost none of us think about Dick Cheney at all. Honestly, I can't remember anything about him. I know a guy whose band has 120,000 Spotify listeners, and they still have to work a full-time job. So it's yeah, exactly. Like most people are not going to make it as musicians, you know. Hate to be the bearer of bad news there. So when you form a band, it's about loving music. If you actually think you're going to do it and make it big, that's just a silly, unrealistic. All right. So when you say don't form a band, I'm going to disagree. What if you enjoy making music? Jeremy says, Coach, what do you think about this Prince Andrew stuff. I don't know. What did I miss something? What do we mean? What Prince Andrew stuff? Could you be a little more specific? I haven't seen his name in the news in a long time. So I think I've missed something. Is he still alive? So I'm going to go to Google Prince Andrew. I'm going to assume he's been in the news lately. So he was stripped of titles. What? What happened? Why was he stripped of titles? I don't see anything about why. Over. Stripped of his last honorary. There was links to Jeffrey Epstein, right? I don't know. Have they not released files yet? I don't know. Well, I don't have time to look into all that. I quite frankly don't care. So unless you're going to release all the Prince Andrew or all the Epstein files, yeah. Prince Andrew got kicked out of his lives. Okay. So do we have confirmation of that? So how old was the girl in question? I feel like people throw that word around too loosely. Way too loosely. And as someone who is very opposed to it and specific criminal penalties and is a survivor of it, I personally find it offensive when people use the term too loosely. Right? Because it's not quite the same thing. Like you accidentally sleep with a 16-year-old girl, she's underage, that's illegal. It's not the same thing. It does not meet the actual definition of the term. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to jail, by the way. I'm just saying it is literally not the same thing. And I think people forget that in the conversation. They are, it's downplaying the severity of the actual real offense, by trying to 14, maybe. So I think we set the law at 13 in Texas for the different degrees of statutes. So just like other offenses, like we rank it by age, which makes sense, obviously, because some things are worse than others. I think it's 13 here, and that's done because they're very probably pre-puberty, which is what the definition is. So for it to qualify for that term, look up the actual biological meaning of the term, right? So, yeah, but the 14 is pretty bad. Now, I would agree. So I'm make that point for a reason, because of severity, because I support the death penalty for pedophilia. That's why I think we need to make that very careful distinction. Because I don't think, some dude who sleeps with his 16-year-old girlfriend should be executed, some 18-year-old guy. Does that make sense? Some 18, 19-year-old dude shouldn't be executed for that. But if she's 8, he should be, that done. So hence why we need to have these definitions. Because I support severe punishments for the real deal. Like, I grudgingly accept life in prison for them, but I prefer a death penalty. So if we need it, because we can't use the biological, which would be, have they gone through puberty or not? If we're going to set a hard number, I think I've said 13 is, I think, is reasonable in terms of death penalty. But I've made posts on that before. I've discussed that. My opinion, if I were made God Emperor of mankind, any adult who sexually assaults, because it is assault, because they can't consent. They cannot consent. They have no ability to consent. If they're under 13 and you're over 18, done. And I think that's reasonable. If you're an adult, they're under 13, it should be death penalty, straight up. Right? It doesn't matter that they look 19, but that's the point. But I get that you're making that point, but I said under 13. Now, could your defense be in that case, they presented themselves as 19. I believe they were 19, whatever, and they presented themselves. That's a defense in court. This is why you have a trial, right? So music, this is why you have trials. So in that case, you give person a reasonable trial. I'm not saying they should not get a trial and be able to defend themselves. Okay. I'm not being unreasonable here. But if you knowingly, is my point. Like, if you know that girl is 12 and you're 20 years old, yeah, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, no. You know, and Max raises a point. I mean, you know, they're pretty immature. Yeah, 13-year-old acts like a 13. Exactly. So, but my point would be, sure, that's why you give them a day in court, music. Allow them to present their defense. I mean, no one should get a death penalty or a prison sentence without being allowed to defend themselves in court with a lawyer, right? So no one's calling for that. No one is saying a vigilante justice. What I'm saying is, if they're found guilty, right? And we treat all crimes that way, though, don't we? Right? We always say ignorance of the law is no excuse, but it's a lower penalty. Like, if you mistakenly do something, it's not the same penalty as if you intentionally do something. So that would obviously be a lesser offense. If they could prove that they were tricked and convince a jury that they were tricked, it would be a lesser sentence. But it doesn't mean no sentence, you know, because there comes a point that where you go, yeah, but dude, you know, you got tricked, but you should have known better. Don't we treat homicides in the same manner? Manslaughter versus premeditated. Manslaughter is usually an accident. You did something that you should have known better that resulted in someone's death. You don't get the same penalty as if you plan it out and go, I'm going to do this, and you follow through with it, right? We don't treat it as the same. We don't where I live. Keep in mind that we have like 5 different degrees of murder in Texas, and one of them carries a death penalty. We execute you. You can get life in prison. You can get death. We have all the way down to degrees of homicide that are so accidental that you get probation and parole for a year, you know. So this is why you have trials, and this is why you go different degrees, and that would fall into the same category. But let's come over to, if you know you are an adult, you are a legal adult, you are 18 or older, and you know that they're under 13. You know, or you strongly suspect. That's it. That should be top of the list in terms of punishments. Just straight up, dude. It's just how I feel about it. Obviously, that would be diminished into different degrees, if they're older, obviously. Close enough in age. This is why you have exceptions. Well, okay, so he was 19 and his girlfriend was 16. 3 years apart. We can give a slap on the wrist for this. Right? I mean, that's a little bit different. That is not the same thing. There's a point where this is just not a good idea, dude. Like, slap on the wrist. But, you got to do something. You got to warn them. They have to have some penalty. They don't need to be executed. They don't need to go to prison. All right. So even our laws are set like that, even in Texas. So we actually have that as an exception for mitigating it if they're within 3 years of age. Right. That actually is a mitigating circumstance. So on and so forth. But it's only 3 years. If they're more than 3 years, dude, you're in trouble. Dude, she's 16 and you're 21, you are screwed. You're 19, it's a completely different under the law here. So we have a 3-year. You still may go to trial, but it's a deterrent to prosecution. You can be found innocent based upon that. Right? Well, government takes some of life, but people take, and I get where you're coming from, but I think some offenses are so heinous that the risk of them getting out is not worth it. Have some discipline. If there is even a question, walk away. The truth is these men are looking for, and that's the point, Bert. And that's exactly the point. Have some discipline. If there's any question, walk away. Like if you're in any doubt, which is why I would come over. Yeah, the Romeo and Juliet law, exactly, Marcinio. So we have that here, and it's a 3-year. It's 3 years. In other words, you're going to be found innocent even if they charge you because you're within 3 years of age difference. But invertebrate raises the point. If there's any question, walk away. It's like this would be defensible in court, and maybe you didn't know, but you still have done something kind of dodgy. And that's the point that vertebrae makes. And I would agree with that. You didn't know, so then what did you think she was? Because you knew she wasn't 18. You knew she wasn't 20. And I agree with vertebrae's take here. Yeah, you still getting some jail time. Right? And I think most of us would agree with that. Like, bro, you're 25 years old. You got no business picking up high school girls. Just stop. Yeah, and I agree, Connor, because that's the point. Well, the point is death penalty. Right? I'm not going to call for the death penalty. But you getting some jail time. The risk of innocent maybe being executed is not worth the risk. I understand your position. I don't agree. But she was actually 18. Coach, if I'm the one initiating contact with Lucy, Coach, all the time, should I chill a bit and see if she does? No, dude. You need to decide what you want out of it. Your actions need to reflect what you desire with Lucy, Coach. Limitless. Thoughts on what is considered low T to start T or T at 40, anything under 300 nanograms per deciliter. I'm going to type that for you. Right? There you go, huge. When the state attached to, don't think too much about it. I know, right? Do you need to be working on moving to the U.S. anyways? But, I'm going to go further with Vertebreaker's point here. All right, let's go further with Vertebreaker's point here. This is a big red flag, like straight up dudes, right? As men, this is the guys talking. We're a bunch of grown men, right? We're all grown men. When some bro says as long as she's 18, we're not talking about if you're 20, guys. We're talking you're 25 and older, you're a man. And some dude 25 or older says that. That's a red flag like a mofo. Why? As men, why is that a red flag? Anybody care to chime in on that one? Why is that a red flag from a dude? When a guy says that, a grown man, 25 and older, grown ass man says, as long as she's 18. You want to know why? To me, that's a red flag. So you set the minimum is what the law is. So in other words, if the law was younger, you'd be more than fine with younger, is what you're saying. That's what I hear when a bro says that. I'm like, so you'd go younger if you could, is what you're saying. Right? Am I right, guys? Am I right? That's what the dude is saying. It's technically 17 where I live, Connor, but I'm making the point because 18 is often the number. Vertebrae, and that's exactly the point. And they're sick. These are people who need mental help. Well, it varies. Every state is different. Texas, it is 17 where I live, but my minimum age for dating is 35. For me, that is my minimum. I don't date under 35. And the reason for that, they simply do not have enough life experience for me to be in a relationship with. Like, I'm at a point where I feel like a 25-year-old, we're not going to match. That's not a compatible relationship. It's just not. It's not, guys. I'm 48, no. Right? It's not an equal relationship, Need a woman with some life experience. You know. But yeah, Vertebreaker is right. I mean, there'd be dudes. So that's the point when the dudes, they say stuff like that. It's always going to be an arbitrary number, but we have to have a number somewhere to where otherwise it's a statutory offense. But it's when the dudes pull that line, well, as long as she's, so in other words, if you're setting the bar pretty low, dude. But that speaks volumes about a man when he makes that point. So whatever the age happens to be, let's say the UK. So if a dude's over there saying, "Oh, mate, as long as she's 16, mate," right? You've already pegged this guy. You know what he is when he says that. Marcinio, I'm in my 40s, dude. It's a different ball game. It's a completely different ball game. I don't care how mature they are at 25. They just do not have enough life experience to really have a meaningful relationship. They really don't. Like, honestly, dude, it's just going to be about sex if they're 25. Reality. I'm just giving my personal perspective. Like, I'm not telling you what you need to do, right? I'm not telling you what you need to do. I'm saying that for me personally, for Jason Blaha, that's my cutoff. I'm just not comfortable getting in a relationship with a woman under about 35. I just don't feel like it's likely to be something meaningful, right? And that's been my rule a little while. I've realized that. I came to that conclusion some time back. Matthew says, I'm cutting down on drinking coach for now. I'm unsure as to where to take women on dates. Previously, I've always asked them to go on a cocktail. Why don't you just take them out to dinner, man? Matthew, go out to dinner, man. What's wrong with just dinner? I mean, hell, you could do a coffee date, bro. I can tell you right now, a woman who's not okay with a coffee date as a first date, that's already a red flag. That's a red flag. If a coffee date to sit down and get to know her over coffee, you know, take them same locations, just don't drink alcohol again. Back to discipline. I mean, I've taken girls on dates to where they know my rule, but see, they all know my rule. I don't buy alcohol. Like they have to buy their own alcohol. Like I had a friend I took on dates a while back between breakups, and it was like that with her. Like she knows I don't buy alcohol. I take her out to dinner, but if she wanted to drink, she had to buy it herself. Like, I'll buy your food, but I'm not buying your alcohol. You know. But yeah, for me, relationship, I'm not going to get in a relationship with a drinker. You know, having lived life, peppermint life experience, years on this earth, have done things. You know, but as far as that goes at this point, Connor, yeah, I don't do drinking at all. You know? But I'm definitely not going to be involved in a relationship with a drinker. You know? No, not really. He's not really limited. Well, you know, Connor's not in the U.S. He's overseas. Smart move, coach. We take notes on the positive and negative of alcohol. The negatives win, and it's not close, right? Um, I think 18 is objectively adulthood. I mean, objectively, biologically, it's younger than that, but that's not what we're looking at. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at maturity, grooming. So that's the biggest issue with the post puberty. Okay, so pre puberty is straight pedophilia. Biologically, that is straight pedophile. That is the definition. Post puberty might be biological adult, but man, you talk about the potential for grooming is in unequal relationships makes it predatory. That's the issue with the pre adulthood. So the big age gap is that it's predatory behavior with a lot of potential for grooming, and that's why it's a problem, right? And it's a problem for society. That's the reason we have those laws, and they're there for good reason, right? Yeah, biologically, we're adults at puberty. Mentally, we're not, and that is the issue. And so we're talking about that lack of maturity in the age gap. So that's even for me why 35 is pretty much my cutoff. And it is about mental maturity, life experience. You know, so that's the problem. You know, with a 30-year-old guy going after a 16-year-old, Arsenio, it's potentially predatory due to their lack of maturity. Most people don't fully mature until their mid 20s. Agreed. You know. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a fair statement too. Yeah, it is predatory. So there's a reason we have those laws, and they're there for a good reason because of that. You know, the only people limiting themselves are those who drink alcohol. It's poison or refuse to date anyone who even touches or drinks, and that's fair. But keep in mind, 30% of Americans don't drink at all. So even in America, you're limiting yourself to 30%. It's a conditioning day review. Man, it's a little cold out there. I just saw the temperature. I'll get out and do some cardio. I might try to get a run in, and then I'll do some med balls and sleds and everything. Yeah, yeah, we have to stop trying to create. Yeah, that's fair. Vertebrae. But that's why we have to have a hard line in the sand with the laws. That's why we have to have an age of consent law. Then there's no gray area anymore. We have a hard line you don't cross. The gray area is right at the age. But is it really a gray area? Like we were saying earlier, if a dude says, as long as she's 18 and he's 30 years old, come on, bro. You just outed yourself, right? The dude says that we as men, we know it's like, dude, you're a piece of shit. Just admit it. Is that fair? There's a point we can look at that and go, bro, you're a freaking predator. Just admit it. Right? We all know. We all know. The only thing he's concerned with, but see, thank God there's an age of consent law that's at least keeping that dude in check. Which I think is the valid point. We know what he is, but he's at least scared to break the law. Okay. That at least keeps him within check. But we know what that dude is. Watch that dude around your daughter. That's all I'm saying. If a 30-year-old man is going after a 28-year-old or an 18, did you mean 18? Because 28 to 30 is pretty dang close, bro. I mean, but if she's 18, I think you meant 18. He needs to mature and learn how to interact. Well, it's not just to mature and interact. No. We know there's something more going on there. The reality is it's not about maturing and interacting. We know that he's a predator. Like, this is a red flag. You don't trust that dude around your teenage daughter is all I'm saying. It's the way he words it. Yeah, it keeps him honest, right? Here in the UK, a lot of younger people in my age range, I've noticed, have abandoned alcohol altogether. Yeah, I mean, fair, dude. But even now in the US, 30, but the Gen Z is drinking less, right? Gen Z is drinking less. I mean, vaping is pretty bad. Better than drinking, but still pretty bad. But I said that with the vaping, it might turn out to be as harmful physically, but nobody is beating other people. There's no domestic violence around vaping. We're not having 10,000 vaping related car accidents and deaths a year. Like the US, 10,000 people are killed by drunk drivers a year. Nobody's dying, killing other people, or hurting other people because of the vaping. Now, health-wise, it may be just as bad as the alcohol. I'm not going to answer that question, music. Let's see. Gen Z has what excessive alcohol has done to older relatives of theirs. Many of them have been victims of abuse from addicted parents. Yep. I know people who do not drink because of an addict parent or an alcoholic parent. All right. And I mean, I have made a promise to God to never drink again. So for me, I'm coming up on 7 years since my last drink. Um, I have no use for it. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't allow it in my home. Like, and that is a rule my bros know. Like, dude, I do not allow alcohol inside my home at all. Don't bring it over. Don't bring it in. That is a hard rule in my house. Um, yeah, I agree. Just like they have seen their elders literally work their life away for what, a bigger house, so they don't want that lifestyle. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they've seen a lot of things, but definitely the drinking is reduced. So no, I don't feel like Connor is limiting himself. I mean, he's literally saying he's only willing to date 30% of the population. That's a pretty dang big number. We could probably narrow it down a way lot smaller than 30% of the population. I don't think it's that limiting. But you've got to look at compatibility of lifestyles. Um, without going into personal stuff, music, my entire neighborhood absolutely checks and cares. I'm just saying. Um, but I don't want to go into my personal life in these topics of discussion because this conversation goes into my personal life and what I and my neighbors discuss. That's not your business. So, does that include on Christmas Eve, Coach? Not allowed? There's no alcohol allowed in my home. Ever met. Yeah. Let's be honest. One might only be attracted to 30% of the population, so there's still plenty of women out there. Exactly. And he doesn't need, so he's limited, right? How many do you need? Like, how many women do you need to marry? Like, let's say he's looking for a wife. Does he need 200 wives? Does he need 10,000 wives? Or does he just need one? I'm just saying, guys. So, if Connor's looking to settle down, he only has to find one woman who's a perfect match. That's it. So if he only drinks non-drinkers, okay, so 70% is out. Well, okay, so we're down to 30%. He's going to want some other values in common when you start chopping that list down. Lifestyle compatibility, but that falls under, what have I said before, guys? If you're looking to date for anything serious, you need to be looking at long-term lifestyle compatibility. Are your values the same? Okay. Are your political, social, religious views compatible? Right? Just saying, dude. If you're an atheist and they're a Muslim, or you're a Christian and they're a Satanist, this is probably not going to work out in the long term, guys. So you need to already be looking at compatibility of values, compatibility of lifestyle. Well, the alcohol already kind of falls into those areas. If you're pretty serious about being a non-drinker, we're falling right back into lifestyle compatibility. Same values, because lifestyle and values can overlap. These are kind of important, guys. I mean, we can get all the way down to one person wants kids and the other doesn't. This is an incompatibility. One person loves dogs and the other doesn't want pets in the house. Okay, let's get down to the nitty gritty, guys. I mean, you've got to have compatibility. One person's really into fitness and the other wants to, eat pizza and junk food all day. These are incompatibilities. Never did again. Oh, um, But yeah, but Connor says, I'll be chopping down further by embracing my authentic self, those who will come to me anyways. Those are the type of people I want to say. And I think that's good, man. I'm not going to go through all my deal breakers. Steve Arnold, morning, Jason. Have a good day. Good morning, Steve. I mean, deal breakers for me, definitely alcohol and drug problems. Those are deal breakers for me as a non-drinker. All right. That's pretty high on the list. Not being into fitness at all is a deal breaker. Right. Not believing in God's a deal breaker. These are deal breakers for me. You know, I mean, but I'm not going to go into all my personal lists of stuff. You don't even know if I'm married or single or dating or not. I keep my personal life all here. I keep that completely private at this point. You know, but yeah, get your house in order. They'll come to you. Yeah, anti-gun would be a problem. Rigger's a 6-year-old man who's been married 40 years. Don't let attraction lust make the remainder of your life, bro. I've been there. I can tell you from firsthand experience, the man's got a point. I have a history of sticking my dick in crazy. And my God, has it cost me. So the man has a good point. Listen to that man right there. All right. Pay attention, kids. All right. I'd say fear losing women anymore because of what I've been through is far worse. So setting hard standards and boundaries is easy. Yeah, there you go. You don't fear. Yeah, exactly. All of us are attracted to crazy. Exactly. My God. Yep. Yep. You don't marry it. That's why I told Limitless when he was in these chats. It's like, Limitless, you need to become a Christian. Go meet a girl at church. It wouldn't be a bad idea. Don't have a child with crazy, right? Because Limitless comes through here, and we've told him already he needs to probably move to the U.S. He's a non-Muslim in a country 87% Muslim, and he has a master's degree in chemical engineering and speaks fluent English, and he can't find a good one. It's like, dude, you have a master's degree in chemical engineering, and you're fluent in English. I'm like, I'm in Texas. I'm like, do you know how? No, Limitless says he is a non-Muslim who has to hide the fact that he's a non-Muslim living in Indonesia. And it's like, you have a master's degree in chemical engineering. Yeah, he said his family is, but he's not. So that's why he's struggling, guys. It's like, dude, Texas, it's like where I live, I promise you, with a master's in chemical engineering. He has no criminal record, never been arrested, fluent English. He could get a phenomenal job here. Houston area, dude, there's so many chemical plants. Yeah. Really hard to make in a country with no family, but the same thing, like where I live, his background, he could come here, do really well. He could meet a good girl. And even if he's worried about cultural ostracization, there's a very, very large Asian populations and groups in the Houston area. Like he would be fine. Now, what you will find, which I think will throw him off, they're predominantly Christian though too. So you'll notice that in this area too. The vast majority of those uh, communities are very, very Christian. So, but in my experience here at least. But that wouldn't be a bad thing for him. Wouldn't be a bad thing. He can meet a girl at church here. I'm just saying. And drops down that engineering degree. Like, just throwing it out. Just planting seeds, right? I'm just planting seeds. Just saying. That's right. We'll get him converted over. I may not be a good Christian. I might make a lot of mistakes, but at least I'm willing to tell a guy who's not a Christian that, Jesus can help him. Right? Come over here, meet your girl at church, man. That'll fix all your problems. All right, what's going on, Ryan? H1B1 is tough right now. Yeah, but he's got a master's in chemical engineering. Marcinio, he has a master's in chemical engineering. What is that thumbnail? Oh, the one I have up, that's from a photo shoot I did like 10 months ago. That's not edited. That's really no filters, just good lighting. So, yeah, from a photo shoot I did. Yeah, it might be tough to get a job and make money. No, it won't be tough at all. That's why Christ died. Well, Limitless asked that. He's like, so how does that work? I'm like, dude. He's like, but he forgive everybody. I'm like, yeah, as long as you're a human and you're from Earth, I think you're good, man. Yeah, I don't think there's any exceptions that I'm aware of. He's non-religious, but he comes from a Islamic family. Just saying. Just plant a few seeds, man. Maybe Elon made 100K for, but Marcinio, okay, fair, but look at the background and look at the companies. There may be a company willing to sponsor it. I'm just saying. Would you recommend Conjugate for a regular gym without bands and chains and different bars with 5-3-1 template? Be better at that point. If you're wanting to really maximize strength, you can do Conjugate without bands and chains. So you've seen client Chris's stuff, right? You've seen clients. I put up Chris squatting 500 and stuff. Right? Chris doesn't have bands and chains at his band. Or I'm sorry, bands and chains at his gym. Right? And we do just fine. I mean, yes, bands and chains are ideal for Conjugate, but they're not required. Yep. Take care, Rotor Breaker. Music saying, I find it so weird that you recommend someone to go to a different country to try to find her. Hey, music. That was not even a remotely comparable situation. I didn't move to another country to find somebody. And also, let's not dig into all that. That's a whole separate set of complexity that I really don't want to get into in my personal life on here. I've discussed that whole stuff with a therapist. I don't need to discuss it with you. So I don't see how that's comparable. I didn't move to another country and then find somebody. I was in a relationship and then moved after I got married. Yeah, a little bit different. So yeah, it's not even remotely related. He is in a country where he is not going to find what he's looking for. And he's also someone who, think of it from my perspective too, would he be an asset to my own country and community? I'm kind of a staunch nationalist. You might have figured this out. I see someone over there with a master's degree in chemical engineering, and that's a potential viable resource for my own country. On top of it, we're going to get political. I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm against illegal immigration. I'm against bringing low-quality immigrants in. I am very much for taking the best and the brightest and bringing them over. Right? People with high-quality skills, high-quality degrees, things of value to us. Oh, absolutely. That's what you want. You want those immigrants. Right? That's what you want. People with advanced engineering, science, medical degrees. Dude, no, you want that. Snatch them up. So, I think the UK has a legitimate immigration problem. Too many ones here that do not provide, and they're in there and lay the issue. Right? So that's what we should be looking at. Do they bring something of value? Yeah, the illegal debate is a red herring in the UK. Real problem is the one they gave papers to, right? Whereas in here, it's more the illegal is a bigger issue. Hey, Marcinio, college graduate's a vague term. We're not talking about college graduates. We're talking about specific skills. Right. Peppermint, I disagree. Most areas I've been to, they're full of immigrants, have tons of business owners. I know doctors that are legal immigrants, media. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's true too. Right. Yeah, I don't know your full situation there in comparison. I don't know the full thing. Whereas in the U.S., our issue is really the issue of illegal and undocumented immigration is our problem. Our legal immigration system's pretty decent here. It's overall pretty good. But that's so strange that people try to make it about things that it's not. Right? They love to make it about things that it's not. And they act like those of us who oppose illegal immigration that it has anything to do with people's race. That's completely not the point. I'm over here talking about getting a guy over here with an engineering degree from a completely different culture and ethnicity. Why? Because he brings something of value. Don't care what color he is. It's like, do you bring something of value or not? That's all that matters. Peppermint, what's a reform UK talking point? Oh, man. I don't know much about your current political situation there. So you guys are going to have to hash that one out. All right. I'm gonna let you guys hash it out a little longer. I was thinking of ending it, but you guys are having a conversation. I'm gonna let you guys run for a minute with your chat down below. Although I may need a restroom break and some coffee. All right, I'm back. Lacey got married. Congratulations, Lacey. A nation prioritize employment of its citizens. After that, we can use. I agree with that, Marcinio, but my point was specifically things that are not always employable here. But that was the perfect example we were using with Limitless in here. He's got a master's degree in chemical engineering. That's a little different. Right. There are currently existing jobs for that need to be filled. Right. Yeah, it's not like he's stealing a citizen's job if he immigrates over with that degree. He's not stealing anybody's job coming over with a master's degree in chemical engineering. I messed up and ate a birthday cake yesterday. Well, it happens, man. So just have a good workout today. Done. Yeah, that's pretty scarce. But again, that's a specific point we're making. So how about a medical doctor? How about, again, a master's degree in engineering? Right? That's totally different. Right? Totally different. But we've got our own set of problems there. I've discussed that a lot in the past on here too, as far as some of that goes with the flow of drugs. I mean, so when we're talking about our welfare situation and we talk about the war on drugs, actually treating the war on drugs like a real war on drugs would free up plenty of manual labor and low skill labor just by getting rid of the flow of drugs to where we could shut down the border and not need illegal immigrants for the labor. Right. So that point gets made too. So what if we actually really did wage a war on drugs and really did shut down the flow of coke and meth and heroin and all these other things into the country and really use the military? Right. We get all these people who are drug addicts who are not working or in the system due to their drug addiction. They don't have access to the drugs. You rehabilitate them. You now have a much larger labor force. You no longer need that illegal immigrant labor force if you get everyone off of drugs. Yeah, that would be my counterpoint to the people who say, well, what about all the cheap labor with illegal immigrants? Well, how about all the cheap labor if I know he's trying. Hey, music, you're not getting rid of, I think we could get rid of the drug cartels in 30 days. Now, Mexico wouldn't be happy about it. A lot of other people would be screaming about international laws. But do you really and truly think the cartels could stand against our Air Force, our special forces, if we literally went to war against the cartels and our military simply decided they were going to get rid of them? Do you think Mexico could stop us? If we actually said, hey, we are going to do this, we're going to go ahead and use all this billions we spend on defense spending, all of these satellites, our Air Force, our drones, our special forces teams, and we're just going to clear out the cartels completely to the man next week. How many days do you think it would take before every last one of them was dug out of every hole they're hiding in and found? I don't think it would take more than 30 days to get all of them. Maybe a couple of stragglers. I'm not talking about using police. I am talking about using SEALs, using the Air Force, drone strikes, satellites, gunships, dropping spec ops teams in, literally treating it like war. We call it a war on drugs, and essentially then telling Mexico to stand down, get out of the way. No, I don't think it would be that hard. So you end the flow of drugs, you get all these people rehabbed, get them out of the criminal justice system, get them rehabilitated in the flow of drugs, you now have a labor force. All this stuff that people think that they need illegal immigrants for, we would have a labor force now. We would free up resources for that. We can shut that down. I know pro bodybuilders wouldn't be on side with that. They'll have to go to the TRT clinic. I'm very aware. Fortunately, I could just go to a T clinic, not a big deal. Right? But yeah, it's strange that so many Brits are fixated on that. So, but yeah, Marcinio, I agree that we have all the resources to do it. This is doable. But this is what you have to have for that. If you're talking about really shutting down the border, really dealing with the illegal immigration, really dealing with it, you have to wage that war on drugs. Right? There's your solutions. I know it's an extreme solution, but it would work. Don't make me God Emperor of mankind. Right? God Emperor Blaha. So those are the things we would do, and then we would increase the death penalty for sure. Like definitely, pedophiles will get the death penalty under my reign. But I could clearly define that. I've said that before. Like, well, you can't just say no. I'm not saying every situation where a guy is an underage girlfriend. I'm saying very clearly delineated numbers. If the victim is under 13 and the perpetrator is over 18, this is very clear cut and dry. We can very clearly define that with laws and numbers, right? If it's provable beyond a shadow of a doubt that they committed the offense under 13 and over 18, done. Death penalty. I think that's pretty straightforward. Right? I don't think there's any ambiguity or gray area in that. We also need to bring in punishments for politicians who mess around with public money, right? Exactly. They need to balance the budget. Balance the budget. See, I got a game plan here, guys. I already know how we deal with the war on drugs, illegal immigrant. Man, I got a plan. Not that I should be made president. My God. Oh, all politicians. Yeah, they would all be in jail. Well, maybe they should be then, Connor. Maybe they should be. All right. The problem is the cartel is just not one solid body; it's multiples. Right. Again, I am fully aware of that fact. I don't think you understand the disparity in power there. I am not unaware of the fact of what you just wrote. Are we pretending the U.S. military has never defeated entire forces that have military-grade training and weaponry? You haven't seen us steamroll other countries pretty quick? Do you really and truly think that, say, the cartels are stronger than the Iraq military was? Do you really think that they're a stronger fighting force than, say, Saddam Hussein and his entire military were? Because we steamrolled them. All right. Jail, I'm not talking Jelly or Rye Peppermint taxing us into oblivion. What do you put in your coffee? It's just black coffee, dude. What do you put in your coffee? I'm trying this thing called... No, do not do the bulletproof coffee. I think they would have an easier time with the cartels than they would with Iraq. Right. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you're clearly not up to speed on what technology and resources they have. Exactly. Drones, intel strikes, airstrikes. No, dude. I think they would also disperse pretty quickly. I don't think most of the cartels and all their manpower would really want to stay on board. I think a whole lot of them would be jumping ship real quick. As soon as drone strikes and airstrikes start, a lot of them be like, yeah, we're out, dude. We're going to go get normal jobs. A lot of their manpower further down. Be like, yeah, no, we're not dying for this. Sorry. There you go. All right. Yeah. But those weapons aren't necessarily going to matter in that case because we're not concerned with the infrastructure. It's not like they're embedded inside our infrastructure. They're embedded in another country's infrastructure. That's pretty easy to wipe out, irrespective of weapons, right? It's a little different when it's inside your own infrastructure in cities. Um, you know, their operations require, um, by its very nature, their operations require rule operations, right? Right. But my point is, it would still be very doable music. We could end the war. We could literally end the flow of drugs, is what I'm saying. We have the ability to do so, and it needs to be taken as a serious option. We'll love to see that the international response. Oh my God, would it be? They'd be going nuts. Yeah, they would be freaking out. Plus, how would that affect the European drug flow? How much of the stuff over there is coming out of Mexico and Central America? Man, the Brits might not be able to get their nose candy. Just saying, man. All right. Boy, we're not talking about criminals. We're talking about the flow of drugs. Like this whole conversation you missed was about how do we replace the workforce of the illegal immigration if ICE does its job and we shut the border down. That was the entire conversation. If you get all of the drug addicts off of drugs and you end the flow of drugs and you rehabilitate them, you now have a much larger viable workforce. That was the whole point of this conversation. You came in kind of late, right? You came in late, bro. Right. So, yeah, if the listeners can't get their Charlie anymore, they'd be upset. So that was the entire point, Pug, was the whole conversation about of illegal immigration is where all of this topic started. With the counter arguments generally being that, but what about the cheap workforce of all the illegal immigrants? It's like this could be replaced with U.S. workforce if we deal with our drug and addiction situation, which again requires shutting down the cartels, shutting down the flow of drugs, and treating it like a military matter, not a police matter. Right? There's nothing to do with criminals. So this was part of a larger conversation. Yeah, I don't think they're not familiar with the drone technology today. It's cray cray. I've heard some stuff firsthand direct conversations with spec ops dudes. Yeah. But for real, do you think Latinos should get a pass like grant them asylum as our men get benefit? No, dude. No. I do know what you mean, though. There are definitely some hot thick Latinas who are undocumented that you'll meet out there. But no, dude. No, they don't get a free pass. Sorry, man. They can get green cards like everybody else. I mean, also, Dingus, let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. Do we really have a shortage of attractive Latinos who are citizens at this point? I mean, really, dude. Like, is this something that we have a short supply of? I mean, serious, bro. Have you not been out there? This is not exactly a shortage, you know. Trump said he would exempt booty Latinos. Oh Lord, guys. On that note, I think it's about time that I wind this coffee chat down. Unless you guys, I don't know, man. You guys are still lively. I'll keep it running. Man. Yeah, good idea. True, but it would be awesome if we could exchange them with our blue hair lectures. Right? Yeah. I mean, you raise an interesting point. I know that gets brought up a lot. People bring these conversations up, and when we discuss right and left politics, and everyone's like, "Oh, all Latinos and Latinas are left wing." I'm like, but they're not. They're generally not. I find a lot of conservative values, right? I find a lot of conservative values among Hispanics, at least in Texas. Just saying, by and large. Hispanic culture is by and large fairly conservative as a culture, right? I mean, as a culture, it's a largely conservative culture. Everybody exchange for the, I know, right? I mean, it's a lot of no. I mean, not necessarily. No, they don't necessarily vote Democrat. There's a lot of conservative Latinos. Yeah, Congress says, and you can't say Muslims are the most conservative while Christians have lost their way and the secular majority are right. So. Absolutely. Yeah, the minority group with largest share Republican. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just saying that I personally, so again, my N equals one, I personally know a lot of very conservative Hispanics, like personally. Um, I mean, I have Hispanic family uh, who, because again, through marriage and stuff, who are all they're like Trump supporters, like, straight up. So, yeah. So, just as a group, I see a huge chunk of that. But exactly, you see a lot of conservative values in general in Hispanic culture, just by and large, just the overall big picture, right? Right. But I think people are missing with it's the undocumented situation. Yes, a lot of undocumented people are going to want to go that way because they want to let them stay. They're not wanting to deport them. So, of course, they're going to push in that direction. But their values themselves are not. So, that's usually, yeah, people vote in line of their own interest. That's usually the predominant situation, right? It is only because of the illegal immigration situation and extended family and community at all why this is an issue. You take that away, you take that out of the picture, Hispanics would be like 90% Republican at that point. The second you pull that out of the scenario and you go back to personal values, because you start talking all the other social issues and you talk to his various Hispanics, the trans issue, abortion. How do you think most feel on those topics? Like by and large, the overwhelming majority of Hispanics that I know, they don't like the whole trans thing at all, like one bit. A lot of them don't like abortion. They're very pro-life. They don't like the alphabet stuff. Like just by and large, like they're not comfortable with it. Um, you know, so you come over to all those other different social values. Uh, they're very conservative. Yeah, I've never seen exactly. I haven't either. But by and large, as a group, like they're not super cool with all that, man. They're just like, no, mm-mm. Not even no. It's like just nope, no, no. I am just telling you, like oh no, mm-mm. So yeah. I like her. It's where you go. I don't know how do you say non-binary in Spanish? Anyone who knows anything about languages will find that amusing. How do we say that in Spanish, man? How do we say non-binary in Spanish? Oh. There's an entire language built around male and female. Oh gosh. So anyone who knows any Spanish at all will find that amusing. Even if you know tiny amount. Like, yeah, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. Yeah, no, but you're right. Infirminated mental, right? Oh man, we've had some we've had some fiery conversations in this coffee chat. Dude, I feel like if this whole coffee chat gets downloaded, I'm gonna get canceled. Be like, dude, he went into pew pew stuff. Oh my god. I mean, we had a whole conversation about the importance of red dots and faster target acquisition. Red dots co-witnessing iron sights, and right, the importance of the first second in a gunfight, and why fast target acquisition matters. Um, all the way to all this stuff, man. Oh my gosh, been one of those chats, hasn't it? It's been a spicy chat. Like the people who caught the whole thing starting that 10 minutes in, dude, this has been a spicy chat. Like I could get in a lot of trouble for this one. I would get some hate for this one. Talk about the fine details of why we should execute pedophiles, why we have age of consent, what the importance of it is, calling out dudes who out themselves with their non. Like we went into all that. We covered a lot of stuff today. Maybe right now I'm gonna leave it up, dude. I'm gonna leave it up, man. I'm gonna leave it up. What do you carry? Glock 19 Gen 4. I mean, I put a Glock 21 on here earlier though because I wanted to show something with the Trigicons, but yeah. Also brought up an AR with a name point while we were talking. But no, I carry a Glock 19. This is my everyday carry. So this is my EDC. This is what I carry. But I badmouth Glock. I'm not buying another Glock either. We had that conversation today too, didn't we? I broke down. One of the first guys. That was the first conversation because the guy kicked it off. A gun guy was in here. Like my first poster was literally in the first like 3 minutes of the stream. I'm going to be boycotting Glock. I'm not buying another Glock after this whole situation with the Series V. Like I'm done. I'm gonna go back to Smith and Wesson. Although I do like 1911s. I'd consider. I like the Kimbers. Although Colt, I got a soft spot for Colt. I like Kimbers, dude. That repeat ice looks pretty slick, actually. And it's optics ready. Having that whole conversation about optics. I don't know, man. Throw a Trigicon on that. That wouldn't be a bad carry piece. Because I'm okay with 2 mags. I know I carry a lot of mags, but oh god, my brother has a 2011. It's cool. I mean, I think that. Well, it was funny because we were sitting there and we were all discussing, and I had my Glock 21 on me, and we started laughing at the absurdity. I'm like, the purists would hate us because he's breaking out. I'm like, I got my Glock 21, so I break out a Glock in 45, and he breaks out a 1911 and 9mm. It's like, wow, purists would all be kind of pissed right about this time. No, screw Desert Eagle. But it's a Hollywood gun, man. No, dude, I think the 2011s are cool. I mean, if you want a super high capacity 9mm with those single action triggers, I mean, I'm not sure if it's going to be as reliable long term as a Glock in terms of durability, but I mean, if you maintain them, but I mean, there's something to be said for having an extremely high capacity of 9mm with that heavier piece with a single action, that single action accuracy, I mean, I can see the appeal. I wouldn't necessarily carry one, but I can absolutely see the appeal. But I mean, I'm okay even with just a 1911 with one backup mag, because that was kind of the conversation we were having of, yeah, I mean, I carry a lot of extra mags, but realistically, a true gunfight, self-defense gunfight, your first 3 to 4 shots are going to determine who lives and who dies, right? Ultimately, 99% of self-defense shootings, no more than 4 rounds are fired. So really, what are we talking about at that point? Having a magazine due to failures, right? Because that's the most likely thing that's going to create any issue. It's going to be a magazine issue. So having a backup magazine, it's not always about the round count. It's about having a backup magazine because your life may depend on it with a malfunction. All right. 90% of malfunctions are magazine related in handguns. So, so again, it really is. It's having that backup mag to save your life in case something goes wrong with your magazine. But even then, I would look at it and go, I'm a pretty good shooter. You guys have seen me shoot. With a Glock, I can put 3 shots a second inside of a 9 and 10 ring, right? All day long. So shot placement's everything. Connecting and doing it quickly. So, at the end of the day, am I comfortable with a 1911 with 2 7 or 8 round mags, like one in it and one backup? Statistically, I'm probably good. Because not like self-defense, we're out at distance. I'm in the parking lot, we're at distance. I've probably got a long gun in the car for backup anyways at that point. So we're not out here across the parking lot at 50 yards engaging. That is not going to be a common scenario. So realistically, odds are any self-defense situation, the first half of that magazine is going to determine the winner or loser. So really, it's situational awareness, shot placement, getting that first round on target first, especially if it's a gunfight. If you're both carrying, who lands the first round that connects is going to be the biggest determiner. Yeah, I aim when I quit drill. But that's why we had the conversation about red dots on DDCs. Are you shaving a half second off of that first round connecting? It takes me about 1.5 seconds to draw and put a round on paper in a kill zone. So the argument we would have with the whole red dot conversation we were having at the first, say, 20 minutes in the chat today was about faster target acquisition. Can you shave a quarter second? Can you shave a half second off the accurate placement of that first shot on when you draw? Could that be life and death? So that's the case to be made for optics ready for EDC. And it's a valid point, which is why we're seeing more of it moving in that direction. I had a chat with I was saying in that chat earlier, I was having a chat with an HPD SWAT guy right before I built the home gym who was saying this, and we were chatting like in a 24-hour. And I chatted with him, and he showed me he was HPD SWAT. And that was his full-time gig, nothing but a response guy. And he said the same thing. It's going to become the norm eventually. What sort of red dot are you running, dude? What's your setup look like? You need a better setup. You should be able to see it. Are you running a really cheap one? Don't buy a $50 red dot. There's your problem. Like I run aim points on all my home defense guns. I run an aim point. They're like $500 a piece. Um, but the same thing, I wouldn't go for less than a vortex on your carry piece, somewhere between a vortex and a Trigicon. Um, you know, but he kind of points, he says it's going to become the standard, and it is. Notice everything is optics ready now. Like, go look at Smith and Wesson's new line, all their stuff, almost everything optics ready. They have the adaptive plates. So it's going to become the industry norm, and it really is. That guy was saying that 7 or 8 years ago, and he's a full-time SWAT dude. It's going to become the industry norm. Eventually, almost everyone who's not broke is going to run a red dot on their carry piece. Who knows what they're doing? But again, so you're looking at just that faster target acquisition, because that half a second getting your sights lined up with that first shot, could it save your life? Possibly. Because why do we carry? We carry to save our life, or to save the lives of others. That's the whole point. Because that's the point we also make. If you're a man, you have an obligation to your society to carry. The Sig Romeo and a 354, yeah. 360, yeah. Well, he was a Sig guy, actually, funny enough, because he pointed out, well, a lot of the Sigs are coming from the factory with a red dot already. And he had said eventually that's going to become the industry standard, because everybody's going to start literally coming with factory installed red dots as an option already. Or at the very minimum, optics ready is becoming the norm. Technology improves. Quality red dots. There's so many out there now. You need ones that can actually take a beating and the batteries don't die. Where you can just leave them turned on and change the battery once a year. Or like the aim points, I change the batteries every 5 years in my aim points. And I just leave them turned on, right? They're just on all the time, so that I don't have to deal with it. So if I grab, if it's bang in the night, someone's breaking in, I just grab it. In the dark, the light's already on, the red dot's already on, I can find them in the dark. Right? You're on it, ready to rock and roll. I think Halo Sun is junk. Bro, I'm going to be honest with you, Dingus. Now, I'm not saying you have to go all the way to a Trigicon. I get it. Right? First 3 words I heard when I clicked on them, turned them on, bang in the night. I'm not saying you have to go with the Trigicon. I get it, the price tag. But at the very least, say a Vortex. But if you want fast target acquisition and you're used to it, and this weapon is what you carry to defend your life or defend your community from in the event of an active shooter or an attack or anything else, Dingus, do you really trust a Halo Sun that you bought at Walmart? And I'm asking that a serious question. On your carry piece that you're going to carry to defend your life, your loved ones, your community, do you trust your life to a Halo Sun? Yeah. Well, we had a whole conversation. It's not even about favorites. I'm going to go back to Smith and Wesson. I've owned Berettas. I've never owned any SIGs. I've owned Berettas. I like a Beretta. I like the Model 92s. But I'm probably going to go back to Smith and Wesson after this whole political fiasco with Glock. As a Glock fanboy, I started with Smith and Wesson. I can go back to Smith and Wesson. Right. I'm comfortable with them. I'm good with them. One of my last Smiths that I sold, I did really well in a steel challenge. In fact, first round, I eliminated a police officer who was former Army infantry and a current HPD guy. I eliminated him in round one. So I smoked that ass 2 out of 3. So with my M&P in the steel challenge. So for those who don't know, with the steel challenge, it's with what we were doing that day. We all showed up to do it. It was an event. You actually have a tree with steel plates that you knock back and forth when you shoot them. You have 3 per side, and they have a beeper that times, and whoever has all 6 on their side is eliminated. So every time you hit one, it flips around to the other side. So you have 3 down each row, and each time you pop them, they ping back and forth. So you hit the steel, and it tings. It's on a spinner. And so they have a timer. It sounds, and then you go, and they give you. Basically, we have 20 rounds. Like enough magazines are 20 rounds per round, and then timer. So you just go down the row popping them. And so a lot of times you're reacting to them. You're shooting the one they just spun back around. And the challenges are usually done within 10 seconds. But yeah, it's definitely a speed drill. It's a very, very much. But it was a fun little event. I did have an H&K 45 too. Also, Evan, awesome man, good job. Honestly, admire. I like H&K. I've had an H&K in 9mm before. I sold it to my dad. My dad still has it. So I sold my H&K to my dad. I had a USP in 9mm. Gosh, what year did I sell it? I sold it to him about 2000, 2001. So I had it. I had pre-band mags, and they cost me a fortune. Oh my God. Did anybody remember those days during the Clinton era assault weapon ban and then the magazines? I had a bunch of pre-band mags for the H&K, and they cost me $150 a magazine per mag, because otherwise we were all limited to 10 rounds during that federal ban until it was overturned. But I'm never going with a non-American company again. I'm done. This whole Glock thing made me realize overseas manufacturers in charge of their marketing and design and manufacture really have no place here. So I'm done with SIGs. I'm done with H&K. I'm going with purely American made after that. Going to be an armed security guard? No. The cheapest gun. Is that a 30 round? No. I mean, so those pre-bands are 15s. I mean, I've got a 30 round Glock mag. Hold on. No, standard for like, so these are 15. So standard for like the Glock 19 compact is 15 rounds, right? You can see your round count. You drop the mag out, see how many rounds you have left, right? Yeah, we passed the live stream record. But these are 15 as standard. Now you can get the fun sticks. Like this, which holds 33. Right. Yeah, if you get a Glock 17 or something, it's always 10. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I call these fun sticks. That's my nickname for them. Right. All right. What's up, peeps? What's going on, guys? So that's the idea, right? Got the fun sticks. We only got one super though, but that's all good, man. We went past 3 hours. I got supers in every live stream yesterday. It was kind of on fire. But yeah, we hit past a record, but it's all good. Yeah, you don't need a cheat gun. So music. I'm the wrong mofo for that one. Notice my face. There's a term. That is used, and I qualify it to term. I happen to be one of those people. You're going to hear this term called gun snobs. I personally think cheap guns should just be destroyed. Just get rid of them. The switch. Dingus. That's the whole thing with those with the switches. So that's why we're having this whole thing with Glock and the California laws. That's why we're having this entire political fiasco. What do you mean? Where do they get them? They just make them. So laws restrict that stuff, not manufacturing. 3D printers, man. So it's still a federal felony. So they get caught with that switch, dude. You would have been better off being caught with a kilo of cocaine than with that switch. What? You can't supervise it, not letting you? You try. You're on your phone. Okay, that's why. So the issue is 3D printers, man. You make whatever you want. Now, keep in mind, though, man, those switches, yeah, you can make them yourself, but you're going to go to prison. So these guys who are caught with those have thrown their life away. You need to be clear on that. Right? You threw your life away if you get caught with that, because that's not a state law. Right? This goes ATF federal. Like you're looking at federal prison time or something like that. Like you would have been better off being caught with a kilo of coke than with that switch. You're going to do less jail time because it's federal. It's a federal felony. You don't get paroled as easy. Yeah. And it's all just silly. It's at the end of the day, I always remind people skill matters more than this. Like, do you really, like you guys have seen me shoot, push come to shove, what are you more scared of? Me with a semi-auto Glock with 15 rounds coming at you, or some kid with a 33 round full auto? Who's more dangerous? Someone who can pull the trigger 3 times per second and every round connect and just choose the center out of a bullseye like I do on camera, or the guy who's spraying and praying? You know, let's be realistic, guys. Learn to shoot. Not that hard. Right? It takes less work to reach that level of proficiency than it does to deadlift 500 pounds. Like, you know. Says me. People would be like, your whole family does that. Right. Yeah, the kids too. You don't think there's a genetic component? Well, maybe. Yeah, it's just not that hard. A little practice. That always freaked me out when I watch police guys being trained and qualifying at the range. It's like, my God, they let you carry a gun? Started on that. Those standards, man. The standards there are low, my friend. They be spraying and praying, London. You're more concerned with that. Somebody like, yeah, I feel on Mac 10 missing everything. No, dude, you got to connect. But that's why we have those conversations. It's why we were talking about that fast target acquisition being critical in self defense. That ability to draw and place that first round in less than 2 seconds from the time you reach is critical. In defensive situations, especially if it's a gunfight. Whoever hits first, kind of a big deal. Female cops are so deadly because they oftentimes force usually the force. It's always necessary, dude. Somebody picks a fist fight with you, as far as I'm concerned, it's justified. That's it. Smoke them. That'd be my self-defense laws. If I was made God Emperor of mankind, someone balls up their fist at you, we're done. Out on the street. Escalate one tier up in violence. People who do that don't need to be around anyways, who just assault other people. I don't know. I don't know how much they were that common. I mean, they were relatively common. I think only with the outlaws and stuff. But the point we come to is the idea is that in theory, hopefully you never have to draw your weapon in self-defense. Well, you can't legally say that, Peppermint. We shoot to stop. We shoot to save lives. This is the operative legal term. Yeah. Yeah, obviously not in childhood. But grown men running around hitting people, they don't need to be around. Just get rid of them. Those cops aren't even a gun guy. They only shoot. Yeah. No, I mean, and Dingus has a point. The average firearm enthusiast way outskills the average police officer. So people say this silly stuff, they're like trained police officers. And I'm like, have you seen their qualifying? In my face. That's like saying, a trained lifter, these men in the study, these trained lifters had an average deadlift of 100 kilograms as men. So when you say a trained police officer, let's put it into strength standards in terms of proficiency. That's like when the trained men in the study had an average deadlift of 90 to 100 kilograms. And you think I'm kidding. I think that's a valid comparison. That's the standards to be a trained police officer. Can they hit a pretty big piece of paper? I'm trying to get a job and to get fat and do nothing, not go to. So music, you need to invest in a quality piece if you think it may be used to defend your life. I am the one person who is never going to. You missed the whole conversation about cheap red dots, didn't you? When I'm like, do you really trust your life to that Halo, son? For your fast target acquisition? I'm just saying. It's an issue of it's budget. They don't have the budget. So, right. So, David, that really is largely the issue. It's a lack of budget. But that's been the point, too, with better training. I would make the argument police are less likely to draw and use because they're going to have a higher confidence in their proficiency. But I know police officers who are serious gun guys, but by and large, they're not. But the thing is, it's an issue of budget. How much money do you think it takes to develop a high degree of proficiency? Why do you think so many dudes hand load so much to cut the cost down? There's a reason people reload. It's cost effective. The most expensive part of the entire bullet, as we were calling it, the round, is the cartridge, which is reusable. The projectile is not the most expensive part. So you start doing the math, so let's say to develop a high degree of proficiency, the average police officer is going to go through $100 to $200 of ammo every week. Oh, I'm not running any Trigigons right now. I don't carry a red dot on me, but I mean, sights are like 150 for just sights. I put some Trigicons up when it was still dark to show what they look like in a dark room. Yes, because they're already, but that's the point. So the police officers who are really good, right? It's like science-based lifters who radically change their programs based on one study on soccer moms doing some weird angle and cadence to lift for no reason, right? Yeah, only because they're enthusiast hobbies outside. Well, and not just training time, but think in terms of money. So let's assume your minimum ammo cost. $5,000 to $10,000 in ammo per year per officer. That's the cost of the ammunition to develop a good degree of proficiency for at least a year until you get them up to speed. I think EOTech makes good optics as far as red dots. I prefer Aimpoint to EOTech. They're in the same price point. I run Aimpoints on all my close quarters rifles. So, but so again, you have to think in terms of the training cost. So to develop what I would consider a reasonable degree of handgun proficiency, $5,000 to $10,000 a year in ammo. I mean, for the first year. After that, they're going to have a good baseline. They could trim that way back. But to shoot like I shoot, that you're looking at $10,000 a year in ammo. To be at the skill level I've demonstrated on camera before. Yeah. Yeah, that title definitely Ronnie Coleman up there. But you watch a lot of the police qualifying, and it's like, dude, they're shooting at a silhouette. Like I've been shooting at a range when there's police guys training, like, and they're having an instructor there and they're stopping and watching. And it's like, and I think I'm a fairly normal enthusiast in terms of skill level, but there's a million guys like me. There's probably 500,000 to 1 million guys in this country, I bet, at that level. We're not that uncommon. But they're watching me and I'm watching the police officers, a shot every 3 seconds. And it's like, boop, like you're watching it hit the silhouette. Do. It's like, are you serious, Skillet? Like, I don't want you as my backup out there, that's for sure. Like, you just go chill and hide behind your car, dude. I'm good. Well, because it's morning, I'm still waking up. I'm gonna go do cardio. I have a couple hours of client calls later today. Sounds like you dropped. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, that's why I used to do so much hand loading. I was shooting that much. Do you train with? I plink with some hot stuff though too. No, you do both. You don't need the hollow points. You just need the same pressure curve. You can reload the plus P with FMJs. But so I'd be sitting here and dudes are watching me. This is one magazine. Drop the mag. It's like just watch the hole grow in the center of the target. But you should be able to drop a 15 round mag in 3 or 4 seconds. in every round connect. They shouldn't be all over. It's like 15 rounds, right? Done. Change mags. Should take you 2 seconds to change mags. So I've done that on camera. I actually have video footage doing that. All right. Of doing 2 15-round mags in about 13 seconds. Anything in guns you think should be illegal? I think depleted uranium rounds should be illegal. Right. I think making bullets out of cesium should probably be illegal. Yeah, dude. When you see indoor ranges and you see some of the ceiling tiles have been hit. I'm not even going to go to the topic with tattoos, man. I've dated a lot of tattooed girls. I've moved away from that. A whole separate topic. Or you don't know what depleted uranium is? So basic chemistry, man. I came up with this idea a long time ago, joking that if we were to cast some cesium bullets, my God, that would be horrific. And something, no. So have you ever seen what happens when cesium hits water? So go do a YouTube search and understand that it's a relatively soft metal like lead. See where I'm going with this? You would need to jacket it. I had the gun channel, but I've got some up on Facebook somewhere. Let me see. Let me see if I've got on my Facebook page. See if I got one we can find on the old on the profile. I might have one still up. Not, I could always re-upload, but I think I do. Got to go through the old lives that are still not deleted. I had to delete a bunch of stuff because there were some errors with some of it. Oh no. Here we go. So this is one I've already got over 200 rounds on target, so there's some strays in there. But if you watch, you can't hear every boom because of the camera, but those are 15-round mags. So that's 2 15-round mags in 13 seconds. And you'll notice if you look at the center of the target, the hole is growing the whole time. So they're all right in the center. Right. No, I don't ask me that on here. My official public response is no person from the internet is ever welcome to show up at my home. You are trespassing. If you were serious and not a troll, you would have messaged me separately with coaching application info. My official public response to anyone who always asks is, you are trespassing, do not show up at my home. To all public strangers. There. That has to be my official response. I can never make any exception. Because of obvious reasons that we don't need to discuss, right? So do not show up at my home, right? No one has permission to show up at my home. That's all good. So if I do not personally know you, all right, guys, I am going to wind this down though. This one's run pretty late. Got to get some other stuff done. So love you guys, and we're out.